E1 KAFKA or her LIGHTCONE, which one is better? In this video, I will break down which is the best option for your account. The main consideration for players is to think about what team you're going to use with KAFKA. Are you going to run KAFKA with both Sampo and Luca or only one of them? Do you have many nihility icons for KAFKA's teammates and at what superposition? All these factors are important for you to make a decision. I'm going to make up two different scenarios that some of you might be able to relate to now or in the future. Scenario 1 is when the player has decided that they don't want to run Luca and Sampo together and want to run, for example, KAFKA in the first slot, Sampo or Luca or maybe even Serval in the second slot. On the first slot they want to run Silverwolf or E4 Asta, and last slot a self-sustaining character. If this is the scenario and you have, let's say, S5 Fermat on KAFKA and Eyes of Prey on Sampo or Resolution Chances Purse on Luca, depending on who you want to run between them. And if there is a case where you have these icons at fairly high superimposition like S3 or higher, then E1 will be better in general for your team damage, and I will tell you why. E1 KAFKA gives about, don't take these numbers exactly to its core, but around 70% more team damage. And if you look at the difference between S1 Pain and S5 Fermata, S1 Pain gives about 12 to 30% more team damage. And if we take away 12 to 13% from 17%, then we get around 4 to 5% more team damage. Now we can clearly see that E1 performs a little better with S5 Fermata than solely E0 KAFKA and S1 Pain. The difference between E1 and S1 Pain is even bigger if you have S5 Goodnight Sleep Well, since the difference in the damage between S5 Goodnight Sleep Well and KAFKA's S1 Pain is only 4% difference in team damage. If that's the case, then E1 pushes ahead even further in the comparison between them with 30% more team damage overall. Now, while KAFKA's E1 is a bigger damage boost than her LIGHTCONE, this doesn't necessarily mean that it's a better option. Upgrading KAFKA's teammates with better LIGHTCONE and more superimposition could actually lead to more damage, since KAFKA relies on her teammates' DOT, which means that the more damage her teammates does, the more damage the KAFKA team will do. If you run 3 nihility characters, then the demand for nihility LIGHTCONes will be higher, since you need to provide all 3 of them with good nihility LIGHTCONes. Not to mention that the Lucas LIGHTCONE Resolution Chances Purse in Sweat at S5 makes it so that we can gain 8% more team damage, and then S5 Eyes of Prey that gives you more DT damage for Sampo, plus KAFKA's signature weapon makes it so it all almost adds up. I also want to mention that this scenario is almost the same if you are using Pella in that first slot, depending on if you have Silverwolf or not. Because if you have Silverwolf, then you're probably running that free event LIGHTCONE before the tutorial mission, which makes it so that Pella will need a LIGHTCONE on her. And what other LIGHTCONes works the best on her? You guessed it, Lucas LIGHTCONE Resolution Chances Purse. But if you don't have Silverwolf, then this doesn't apply to your Pella, since she probably already has before the tutorial mission equipped on her. But these are scenarios that only some of you can relate to, and it's very much based on your luck so far, what team you plan to run, and what you have on your account. The most realistic scenario is that most of you won't even have the LIGHTCONes or high superimposition, plus you probably won't have high idleness unless you're lucky on the bans, which leaves with the question, what should I do? What is the best option for me? Usually, if you are in this situation, then pulling for E1 is almost always the better choice, since the reason for you to pull for S1 Pain is very specific, like the one scenario I just made up, which is like almost the only scenario where you want to get S1 Pain over E1 in terms of damage. So I would say E1 is better in general for most of the player. But in conclusion, your choice depends on what LIGHTCONes you have, what team you plan to run, if you need more nihility LIGHTCONes or not, which makes the value of the LIGHTCONE banner much better. Otherwise, E1 is usually the better choice. I hope I have helped you with your choice, even if it's just a little. To be honest, I couldn't cover everything I wanted to cover in this video. I wanted to talk more about the LIGHTCONE and the speed, since that speed boost allows for some interesting alternative and gameplay. But speed in general is a little exhausting to talk about. If you enjoyed this video, then I would appreciate a like, and if you want to see more of these kinds of videos, then don't forget to subscribe to not miss out on future content. Thanks for watching and take care.